everybody. Welcome to Gone Racing. Jeff Motley here in the South Point studio, and it's starting to get a little lonely in this studio. Brendan Gaughan is joining me remote again this week, and by the way, just as a heads up, and we'll be joining remote again next week. And we're gonna almost forget what you look like. Maybe you're just waiting until you get off that little one-legged scooter thing. Are you done with that yet? By the way.
No, I'm not done with that yet, but we made it through Mexico with the boot on all week, and then I destroyed the boot. I got home, I brought it to my physical therapist and said, see, I have proof I wore it all last week. Then the Baja 500 went absolutely terrible. We were leading, had a great day, and then to the mechanics at home, we broke a flex plate. We sheared the bolts off it, don't know how, we're looking into it. So we ended up with a bad day. Anybody, hopefully you followed the stream. We had an exciting day till then. Then yes, we're out here now.
I will tell you, I did log into the stream, but having that camera like right there on the front of the vehicle, it was sensory overload, and it did not take long to hit that sensory overload. And the rear one wasn't working when I went on there; only the front one.
Somebody said that it was. Yeah, they go on and off sometimes.
So I gave it the old college.
So now we're in Disney.
So now you're at Walt Disney World. So you're back on a different coast. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Where's Waldo? We could do a Dude Wipes Where's Waldo segment. I could bring Dude Wipes everywhere and start, waving them around like the flag everywhere.
Yep, there you go. Okay, where's Brendan? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? What is the name of that?
San Diego.
Carmen Sandiego or something. Where in the world is Carmen?
Is Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, there you go. So that could be you. You'll be the next Diddy. Next song or whatever they call them.
Whoa!
I don't mean that Diddy.
Whoa!
I don't mean.
Whoa!
I didn't mean that.
Sirius XM sponsored by Jeff Motley and nobody anymore.
Yeah, well, as I said, I don't mean that Diddy.
I think you mean like Jack and Diane.
Yeah, like Little Diddy, Jack and Diane. Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. So no P Diddy.
That song's being canceled now.
Little Diddy, not P Diddy. Okay. All right, man. It might be time to start. Maybe it's time to start talking a little bit of racing on this show here, since that's what we're here for, right? Hey, Denny Hamlin.
We're paid for.
Denny Hamlin. He put it all together this week. Great run at Michigan to get to victory lane. And I tell you, I know a lot of people don't like Denny, and Denny gets some criticism, but I absolutely loved when he got out of the race car. And he said, I know you guys are upset because I beat your favorite driver. And whoever the reporter was said, which one? And he said,
who's that?
He said, all of them.
All of them.
And I love that.
That was a old-fashioned Denny Hamlin, 44-year-old win. Knew how to save fuel. And the new stuff now with the data they have live, Jeff, it's different than when I was around, right? We had to know what we were doing. Now he can even be told what he's doing. And they know live how good it is. But that's a good old-fashioned Denny Hamlin, Joe Gibbs Racing. People that say they don't like fuel mileage racing, I laugh and go, why? You don't like the cerebral part of the sport? You don't like the strategy of and how I like fuel mileage racing. William Byron, 2 laps to go, couldn't make it. Ends up finishing 28th or whatever it is. I love that stuff. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting to watch. You're guessing who's going to make it. And you look at the top 10, a lot of great guys had a lot of great finishes because they were able to get themselves to the finish.
Well, and how smart was Denny? He basically had Hocevar and Byron racing each other in front of him. And, of course, Kyle Larson, he was just trying to be the guy letting him do it. But Denny was the one that was really, really saving the best and had the best car out of that group. So, yeah, he basically ran them out of gas. I mean, that's kind of what Denny did.
And we used to do that all the time. We used to have strategies like that where Shane would say, Brian Barry, you're trying to push people harder than they want to go. It's a strategy. I think it's fun. I love that style of racing. And Denny Hamlin put a masterclass on for it. Great job.
Well, he was a plus 500 to win. He was also a plus 180 for a top 3, and he brought Toyota home at a plus 170. Taking a look at the top 10 there, Brennan, I mean, there are some names in the top 10 this week that we've got to really, really tip our hat to. First off, Chris Buescher. I mean, the guy's gotten the points penalty. Yes, he got it reduced, but still had a points penalty. Coming back to a track where he's had great success. He finishes second at a plus 650. And the guy you've been high on lately, you were high on him last year, then you were kind of down on him early this year. You're kind of gotten back on him. Ty Gibbs getting a top 3 at 11-1. And you were really tempted to take him for a top 3 last week and just couldn't quite pull the trigger on that one.
I I had it almost penciled in, and I should have gone to it. I would have caught you if I'd done it. But still, but forget about Ty. Look at the other names. You were talking about Bubba Wallace. There he is in fourth. You know, we had another Ross Chastain good run. You know, Zane Smith, the guy that you've been talking about. Zane right there with a top 10. Kyle Busch with a good run. Kyle Busch eighth is not a good run for Kyle Busch, but it is for what he's been doing. And then your guy Priest. How about all three RFK cars? Again, what is that, the third time this season?
Yeah,
all three in the top 10.
Yeah, a fantastic run for them. I mean, Keselowski's got to be feeling really good about that entire race team right now. I agree. Look, Priest is coming every week. Zane Smith is coming every week. And the other guy who's not in this top 10, and I just mentioned him a minute ago, Carson Hocevar might have been the class of the field out there, even though he ran out of fuel. Carson Hocevar, that guy to me, he's going to win a race soon.
10th and 3rd in the stages, led 32 laps, super fast, I mean, he was right there with William Byron, you know, as two of the better cars at the end of the race. Hocevar is absolutely showing that and how about, look, he's actually, I hate to say it this way, he's making Justin Haley look terrible right now because he is on fire. No, he is. And I mean, he's competitive. Or not Justin Haley. Justin Haley's at the other Spire, Michael McDowell. At Spire. He's making Michael look terrible because he is flat out killing it. Yeah, no question about that. I mean, I think everybody probably looks at it now and says the next guy to get his first career win. I mean, everybody wanted to say it's going to be Ty Gibbs. Now I think it's going to be Carson Hocevar. And I'm not sure Zane Smith or Ryan Priest may not be behind him, but I do think Hocevar right now, among drivers who have never won a cup race in their career, right now Hocevar to me is the guy that's going to be the next in line there to do it. Well, let's take a look at our standings now, and the great run by Ryan Priest puts him now right on the cut line with Kyle Busch. They're at 322 points, but they're 16th and 17th, only separated right now because the tiebreaker based on number of top tens goes to Ryan Priest. But we got Chris Buescher, despite that points penalty, has gotten himself pretty well above the cut line by running well. And I tell you, a guy that keeps dropping each week, and I hate to harp on it, Alex Bowman. And I know it wasn't his fault necessarily last week at Michigan, but you know, somebody once said, if you run back there with the clowns, you might end up being one of them. And you know, and Bowman's not running well right now, and he's getting himself back there in these groups. He was 80 points to the good 3 weeks ago. He's only 13 to the good now. He has absolutely been on a slide. But I think all these guys, you look at, I would say all the way to even Chris Buescher. When you talk about the next bunch of races that we're going to, Jeff, Kyle Busch is nervous, Ryan Priest is nervous, Bowman is nervous because AJ Allmendinger, Shane Van Gisbergen, Atlanta with an Austin Dillon or a Daniel Suarez, Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell. There are people right now that are extremely nervous looking at the upcoming races, and it's those bottom four guys and the four guys first out that are right now extremely nervous about the point situation. Well, and you talked about the races that we've got coming up, and look, I think our excitement for this weekend is off the charts. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. And let me say this real quick. All you people out there that had all these things, shut up. When you don't know what you're talking about, Mexico City is a beautiful town. The truck drivers were, they're going, oh, they had to have a military escort. No, they didn't have to have a military escort. They thought it was a great deal to put them all in one spot. We care about, do we need a military escort down the Las Vegas Strip, Motley, when you were at Las Vegas Motor Speedway? No, it's good publicity. It's great. It's cool for the sport. They did a drive all the way to Mexico City. It's a long way. They had military escorts, not because it was dangerous, because they wanted to keep them all in one place. That's a lot of vehicles on a road they're not sure of. The truck drivers were nervous. They didn't know where they were going. And they put an escort together. They got there, and all the people that have been there are already going, man, it's beautiful down here. Because it is. Mexico City is a beautiful, very famous old town. Sorry. I just was upset about some things people said. Well, okay. Rant is over, but I think we're excited about getting down there and seeing a new racetrack on the schedule. First time since 1958 that NASCAR has staged a points race outside the United States. It's going to be the first points race for the Cup Series ever run in Mexico. Yeah. And it's going to be at a track, though, that is not a total stranger to some of the drivers in this race.
There's 3 guys who raced there in Xfinity Series. Actually, there's 3 former Xfinity winners. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, all won Xfinity Series races there. Michael McDowell's won a sports car race there. Daniel Suarez runs some NASCAR Mexico. Now, this course has been modified a bit from the one that those guys raced on, but still very comparable. But we'll talk about Mexico City a little bit more. But when you look at the rest of our schedule coming up over the next few weeks, we've got Pocono the following week, which is going to be unbelievable on the truck drivers, have gone from Michigan to Mexico City to Pocono. God bless those guys. Then we're going to start that in-season tournament where we're going to have the 32 drivers, each of them going head-to-head. That's going to start at Atlanta, our second trip there. I mean, in Atlanta, we always know anything could happen there. And then we go back to 2 more tracks where we're going to turn left and right. We're going to run on the streets of Chicago, and then we're going to go out to California and race in Sonoma. So 3 of the next 5 races are road courses, and 1 of the next 5 races is on what we call a restrictor plate track. We know they don't actually run restrictor plates, but you know what I'm talking about, a drafting, pack style racing. Pretty crazy schedule the next 5 weeks.
And that's why these guys are nervous at the back of the pack, right? At the back of that point system right now, you got 5-8 guys that are so close to that cut line that all it takes is one little hiccup right now, and you're going to keep seeing those names drop down that list. And like I said, Alex Bowman has put himself in danger. Even Chris Buescher. Chase Briscoe probably might be the cut line after some of these races, but it absolutely is going to be wild to see who gets these W's, who moves up and down the points, and who moves up and down the playoff standings. And then we'll talk later, Jeff, about the new in-season tournament. We may have to change some things on Gone Racin to maybe have a couple other bets going on during the in-season tournament deal.
Well, I know the Kyle Busches, the Alex Bowmans of the world, they are rooting for a Christopher Bell, a Chase Elliott, a Tyler Reddick to win in Mexico City, to win in Chicago, and win in Sonoma without question. Because if one of those guys like a Van Gisbergen or an Allmendinger wins, that's going to upset a lot of stuff. So, all right, we'll be back on Gone Racing, and we'll start giving you the odds for this weekend at Mexico City. Welcome back into Gone Racing. Jeff Motley here at the South Point Hotel Casino. Brendan Gaughan is joining me remotely from Walt Disney World, where he is being a good dad this week, taking his son to Disney World.
I'm going to stick this song in your head. I'm going to make everybody have to think that they're listening to It's a Small World After.
Are you going to ride the Teacups or Mr. Toad's Space Mountain? I don't even know. What else they still got down there? Thankfully,
Mr. Toad's is my boys have kind of grown out of Mr. Toad's. Thankfully, Teacups. No, there's a certain point where you reach in life where you go, you know what, the Teacups just are not worth it. But absolutely be on Space Mountain. And don't forget, Disney World has Tron. Disney World has Animal Kingdom. We got Epcot. We got the big Chevy. The I can't even remember what it's called in Epcot, but they got the big Chevy display with the big roller coaster there. So. We'll be definitely hitting some coasters.
Well, you have a busy week down there.
And it's a small world.
And right here in the middle of everything, you're taking time out to do Gone Racing. So we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be part of the team this week.
Anything for Jeff Motley and Ann.
Well, Brendan, we were talking about how excited we are. We headed to Mexico City. Now, this track is going to be about a 2.2 mile course. I think they're going to run. It's going to be somewhat modified. It's not the exact same course Formula One races. I think there's a couple modifications. But when people watch this, they are going to see one of the coolest things in sports anywhere, and that's when they actually drive through the middle of the baseball stadium. That the track itself goes right through the stadium, under the grandstands. To me, that's going to be one of the coolest things people are going to see.
Look, I once again, NASCAR years ago, we went to Motegi, Japan, and Suzuka before that, in Japan. That was super cool to do. But the way race courses have developed in the last bunch of years, I think it's super neat how, the Mexico built this track and built the way they did it. But I think it's super cool NASCAR went there. Plus, look, they do have the NASCAR Mexico Series. This is remember all the drivers came last year up to LA to the LA Coliseum to do the LA Coliseum race. So super cool down there, and the track is super unique for NASCAR, and I am excited to watch all these guys go. And when you get to the odds, Jeff, we're going to chuckle. We're going to see some names at the top of this list that we don't normally see at the top of a list.
Yes, we are. Well, let's get to those odds to win this week's race in Mexico City. Shane Van Gisbergen, there's a shocker. He's the favorite at plus 350 to win. Then we got William Byron and Christopher Bell, both at plus 600. Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson plus 800. And then everybody else is in double digits, starting with AJ Allmendinger at 14 to 1. The hometown guy. And by the way, the media crowds around him yesterday and today.
He needs personal security.
Because he's already there. Yeah, is Daniel Suarez. He is 15 to 1. Then Chris Buescher, Kyle Busch, and Ross Chastain are all 16 to 1. And Alex Bowman, 20 to 1.
Hey, Jeff Motley, who has more top 10s on road courses in the last 10 races for NASCAR?
I'm going to bet it's Chris Buescher.
Bingo! This guy we have said he's the most underrated road course racer in the sport.
Aren't you impressed I knew that and you didn't set me up for that, by the way? We didn't discuss that. No, I did
not. For the folks listening, we did not talk about that in the break. But you and I have been, one, we know Gone Racin. We love us some Chris Buescher. But he has been amazing on road courses and sneaky. Nobody knows it. He's got to win. He's got 8 top 10s. We're at three top 5s. And you're giving me Chris Buescher 16 to 1. I am really, really, really liking that. Yes, I love SVG. Don't get me wrong. But you're giving me AJ Allmendinger at 14 to 1, Daniel Suarez 15, and Chris Buescher at 16. I got those 3 guys right there circled going, yeah. This is there's going to be some money to be made.
Well, I agree with you on every one of those guys. And the other guy I would probably throw into that mix because he's shown to be a very, very capable road racer is Ross Chastain. And we saw him win that race down in Austin, Texas. I think Ross is a guy that I expect to be there. I expect him to be in the mix on this course as well. And again, you're looking at 16 to 1.
Kyle Larson. You got Kyle Larson at plus 800. I mean, let's not shake on the Kyle Larson at plus 800 number. That's a huge number for Kyle Larson, who went through a stretch where he was the premier road racer in our sport. So there is some great numbers here on guys. The hard part is, Jeff, which one do you pick? Because I like them all.
Well, you're right. That does make it a little bit problematic. I mean, look, and I think look, I know we said we have 3 road courses in the next 5 races. Shane Van Gisbergen's winning one of them. I don't know which one. He's winning one of them. The only thing that worries me about Van Gisbergen is a bad pit stop. You know, a team that has not been in the mix as much, but he might be able to overcome that with his driving ability. All right, let's take a look at our little bit longer odds here to finish first and waiting for him because my sheet is different than the screen. So I'm going to go off the screen. Yeah. Ty Gibbs, Michael McDowell, Chase Briscoe, and Austin Cindric are all 30 to 1. Ryan Blaney is 40. Denny Hamlin, 50. Joey Logano is also 50. Carson Hocevar and Todd Gilliland are 100 to 1. Noah Gragson, Bubba Wallace, 200 to 1. And Brad Keselowski, who has won here in an Xfinity race, has won road courses in the Cup Series, is 300 to 1. And then the field is 20 to 1. And I would tell anybody it is worth $5 to go
my goodness.
Brad Keselowski.
Look, the field bet, there's a lot of guys. This is from the South Point, of course. The field bet has a lot of drivers in it. But there are no big names like SVG. When SVG was there, the one, there's nobody in the field that's filling in any of these rides. There's only 37 cars down there. So it's not like somebody showed up. Catherine Legg is in the field, and she's a very, very, very accomplished road racer, but she's with Live Fast. It's not, I don't think it's going to be really competitive for what she needs. But there are Brad Keselowski. I'm sorry. He in the last 10 races, he's got 3 top 10s and 1 top 5 in the last 10 road course races. And he was a good road racer back in the day. I would be willing to jump on a Brad Keselowski and put, like you said, want to put $10 on old Brad Keselowski? That's a pretty good payday.
Well, to me, if you're going to make it 300 to 1, I mean, what is there to lose? I mean, I think almost anybody could part with $5 or $10 to think about what that return would be for Brad Keselowski. So yes, on the long shots, yeah, just because of the number alone, I do love Brad Keselowski at 300 to 1. All right, let's take a look at our odds for top 3s. Brendan, something we have not seen in quite some time, and that is a driver with a negative number beside their name, and that's what we're getting with Shane Van Gisbergen. He is minus 120 for a top 3. Christopher Bell is plus 180. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, all at 225. Chase Elliott is 250. AJ Allmendinger, 380. Daniel Suarez and Kyle Busch at plus 400. Chris Buescher, 450. Ross Chastain and Michael McDowell at 500. Alex Bowman at 700. Carson Hocevar, 750. Chase Briscoe, 850. Ty Gibbs and Austin Cindric at 900. And Denny Hamlin, 11-1.
So you're right. It's been since, remember the year of the big three, when we had negative numbers a lot on top threes, even on ovals. Been a long time since we've seen a negative. Is SVG worth it? 100%. I believe that's a it's a fair assessment of SVG. But I look at this and I go, okay, well, there's the dinger, 380. You're giving me Chris Buescher, the guy we just talked about, at 450. You're giving me your guy Ross, Michael McDowell, 500. You're giving me some names here in the top three. I just said there was too many names for me to pick to win. Okay, well, I'll take AJ Allmendinger at 380. I'll take Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch 400s. I'll take Chris Buescher all day long at 450. These are great returns for these guys.
Well, maybe a couple observations for me on here. Number one, there's no way in the world I'm taking Shane Van Gisbergen at minus 120 for a top three. I'm going to take him at plus 350 to win the race. Because here's the deal. If the Shane Van Gisbergen is going to win the race, or he's probably not going to finish in the top 20 because something's gone wrong and something's happened. Because if he can get to the top three, he can get to the lead. That's kind of the way I feel about him. So that's one. Now, I know this is going to probably make your head explode when I bring up this guy's name because I have been so down on this guy. But the guy who won the street race in Chicago last year is plus 700 for a top three. That's Alex Bowman. Now, I know that you cringe because I'm now kind of a little bit on an Alex Bowman bandwagon. It's only because that's a really good number by a guy who's got a street course win.
I'm falling all over myself right now. I thought we're not allowed to talk. I thought Jeff Motley's not allowed to say anything good about Alex Bowman. What? That's allowed?
Now that's a bit much. That's a bit much.
No, here's the deal.
There's no hyperbole on this show, is there?
He's got 6 top 10s, 4 top 5s in the last 10 road course races. So I mean, he is a very good road racer. And with those stats at plus 700, you are 100% correct. Now, did I see there's rain in the forecast? Possibly. I
have not looked at the weather forecast. Maybe I should have before we did this show. But
you keep going. You go to the next ones, and I'm going to look that up while you're going to the next set.
All right, we'll get to our longer shots here to finish top three. And where are we going to start here? Here we go. Ryan Blaney is 11-1. Joey Logano is 12-1, and then it's a huge drop off after that. Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski, Todd Gilliland, all at 40-1. Justin Haley, Austin Dillon, Ryan Preece, Noah Gragson, Austin Dillon. Oh, we got him complete. Oh, sorry. I'm reading off the list here and we're professionally unprofessional, Brendan, because we got names listed twice. So let's start over.
They can't see it on Sirius. Just keep on digging.
Correct. Justin Haley, Austin Dillon, Ryan Preece, Noah Gragson, all at 50-1. Then we've got Cole Custer is 70-1, along with Zane Smith, Josh Berry, Eric Jones, and Riley Herbster 80-1, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at 100.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets the 100-1 shot. That's kind of impressive there. I'm looking at guess what? Sunday, Mexico City, 90% chance of rain.
Now, if it's heavy rain, they're not going to race in it like we saw at Austin. The first year,
the 1 year, yeah.
But
I don't know if it says heavy. No, it says periods of rain. So it doesn't sound like it's going to be a deluge, but it sounds like there's going to be rain.
Maybe like Chicago was last year by the time they raced on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that affects what we're looking at here. You look at that. I look at the top three page and I go, who's got a lot of experience? Brad Keselowski, 40-1. Here's a guy been doing this a long time. He's got that, he knows how to race around these things. Ryan Blaney was a great road racer, or not great, but he did well for a little while on the road courses. Ryan Blaney's sitting right there with an 11-1 for a top three. These are good numbers on guys that have teams and the abilities to know how to handle a messy situation.
No, I think you're exactly right. But the guy that's got maybe the most experience of all is Shane Van Gisbergen. Racing in the rain is not.
That's why he's minus 120.
Right. It's not going to affect him in the least. He's like, bring it on. All right. We come back on Gone Racing. We'll get into our driver head-to-heads, and we'll start on our group matchups. Welcome back to Gone Racing. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan. Brendan's actually joining us remotely from Walt Disney World and Orlando, being a good dad this week, taking the kids on a little vacation. I'm here in the studio at the South Point Hotel Casino, and we're talking all things Mexico City. Excited, the first ever NASCAR race, NASCAR Cup Series race held in Mexico. The Xfinity Series ran there, I think, 3 or 4 times between 2005 and 2009, and a number of these Cup guys, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, won Xfinity races down there. We know Daniel Suarez has a lot of time at the race in Mexico, the track in Mexico City. So looking forward to that. Brendan, we're looking at our driver head-to-heads here. If you really want to go against Shane Van Gisbergen, you've got 2 really big-time drivers, William Byron and Christopher Bell, both getting a plus 135 against Shane Van Gisbergen.
The rest of the page is not as exciting. You're only getting a plus 105 on most everybody, or a couple even monies, minus 110s. But those 2 numbers intrigue me. Look, we're all high on SVG, but we all know pressure, mistakes, anything can happen. It's probably going to rain, which makes you say SVG. But he could still make a mistake. And you're giving me Christopher Bell or William Byron. 10 races, 7 wins, 7 top 10s, 4 top 5s, a win, 6, and 2 wins for Byron. These are guys that also have been amazing on road courses. So it's worth it to just give it a shot on one of them. Plus 135, it's a good return. You're doing a head-to-head battle with a guy that's that good. I'd take Byron or Christopher Bell.
No, I can see that. And I think, and I like Bell probably a little bit more than I do Byron there. A few others down here. Look, one guy that has been a solid road course guy his whole career also is Tyler Reddick. Now, Tyler Reddick has got a plus number at 105 against Byron and against Bell. So that's, if you're looking for a plus number, so much a little bit of a long shot, I think the fact Tyler Reddick's getting a plus number against a couple guys that I don't know that Byron and Bell are necessarily that much better than Reddick. And another guy who used to be incredible on road courses is Chase Elliott. And Chase Elliott's sitting there, and he's got a plus 105 against Christopher Bell.
But like everything with Chase Elliott, he's not been as good, right? He's good. He's still top 10s, 5 top 5s, 9 races. Still great. I love that. Love that slump. But he hasn't been that Chase Elliott that won. What did he win at one point, Jeff? Wasn't it like 4 or 5 road races in a row that he won?
He was quite dominant.
Yeah, he was killing it for a while. So you kind of go, well, which Chase Elliott's going to show up? But he's still 5 top 10s. Still a good number. You're getting decent returns. But those are only minus 105, plus 105s. It's not all that great. I'd love to see a bigger number like we're getting on the William Byron and the Christopher Bell.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look into our group matchups here. And Group A is pretty exciting for a change. It's rarely that it's exciting, but Group A, no big surprise. Shane Van Gisbergen is the favorite there at plus 180. But listen to these numbers, folks. William Byron and Christopher Bell are both plus 300, and Tyler Reddick is plus 335. Would you consider taking Byron and Bell?
Now I got to take back what I just said about SVG versus in the head-to-heads with C. Bell or Byron. I'm getting 135, or I can take the same bet and do a plus 300. Pick one of them, and you have a much better return cut for you. Now I'm on the other side of the bandwagon. I might have to pick Group A instead of going into the head-to-head matchup.
And see, I think SVG is so much more accomplished than almost everybody else right now in the Cup Series when it comes to road courses, that I think even getting a plus 180 on SVG is a good number.
Because it is. No, you're especially 90% chance of rain, Jeff. 90%. Who do you want? I'm with you. I plus what? Remember, to win the race, he's minus, or for a top 3, he's minus
120 for a top 3. He's plus 350 to win the race. Plus 180, and he's only got to beat these 3 guys.
That's a good number on SVG. I'd still take it.
Yes, I completely do. I like SVG here. I think SVG is going to win the race.
I'm not betting Group A. I like too many things. I like Byron and Bell also, so I'm not betting it. But 180 on SVG, good number.
Well, let me throw some more big numbers at you. So let's move on to Group B. Now, at the top of Group B, not big numbers. Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson are both plus 230, but Chris Buescher and AJ Allmendinger are plus 315 in Group B. Are you feeling that Chris Buescher to beat these 3 guys?
Okay, I'm going to Sirius XM. You don't get to see it, but if you're watching the South Point stream, bad television. My head is going down, and I am typing out my second pick right now. I mean, oh my gosh, you're giving me the dinger at 315. I know he's going against Kyle Larson, who is great. I know he's going against Chase Elliott, who has been great. I know he's going against Chris Buescher, who we just talked about. But you're going to give me the dinger in a 90% chance of rain race against these guys at 315. That is, well, I had a lock a couple weeks ago or last week. This is my lock this week, right there. Boom.
AJ Allmendinger, your lock.
Mm-hmm. My lock.
Well,
because in the rain, you're telling me 90% chance of rain. The guy with more experience combined than all three of those guys combined is the dinger.
Brendan, as a guy who is a racer, you know what a team sport NASCAR is. And the only thing that's keeping me away from AJ Allmendinger is how many weeks on weeks have we seen them have an issue in the pits, a penalty here, penalty there, a long pit stop here. I am not convinced that Allmendinger can go through the entire race and be flawless in the pits. And that's the only thing that holds me up. That's why I don't consider him a lock. I do think you could make the argument why he should be the favorite here. I'm just saying. Okay.
My head is down. I am typing to put in my next pick.
Okay. You can keep humming It's a Small World all you want to. I'm just saying I don't agree with you as much as that. In fact, I think if I was going to go the plus 315, I'm going Chris Buescher.
Hey, let me go back a week when I gave a lock and you went against me on my lock. You said you had some pearls of wisdom to go against my lock of the week. My lock won.
I also want to point out that when your lock doesn't win, you don't remind us of that.
I don't think have I done a lock? I think I've only done that maybe once this year.
You know, you're approaching 50. That amnesia and all that stuff is starting to set in there.
Let's go to Group C, please.
Okay, let's go to Group C. Why don't we? Okay, our favorites in Group C. We've got co-favorites here: Ross Chastain and the hometown guy Daniel Suarez at plus 250. Then Kyle Busch 275 and Alex Bowman plus 300.
You know, here I'm torn, Jeff. I know the pressure of racing at home, right? I raced at your track many years. I won it. I was fortunate enough to win it, in a West car and a truck. The pressure that Daniel Suarez is on is probably bigger than any pressure any driver has had in a history of the Cup Series. Would you give me that? Would you kind of say the gravitas of this moment for Daniel is probably bigger than anybody has ever had?
Without question. Because all right, look, when you raced in Las Vegas, you had family, friends in Las Vegas, and you wanted to do well in front of them. He's got an entire country of people who he doesn't even know, but they share a language, they share a homeland, and they are all cheering for him. And and granted, it's great to have that support, but I think the pressure of not wanting to let them down, that's extraordinary to me.
To me, Daniel Suarez is a pretty tough hombre, right? I mean, he's always been a tough dude. So I think he can handle the pressure. But there's still the question of that's a mass amount of pressure. So Daniel Suarez, to me, would be the odds-on favorite for me. I would pick him to say, let's go in your hometown, Daniel Suarez. But at the same time, let's talk about realism. Kyle Busch won there. He has laps at most of this track. He has laps around there. And he's a pretty darn good road courser. He's 275. And we talked about Bowman. I like the two bottom guys there. I got to stay away because I really don't want to bet against Daniel Suarez this week. But I do like Busch and Bowman on the two bottom numbers there.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about Suarez too is I compare this in a little way to athletes competing in the Olympics in an individual sport. But most of the time, if the pressure of your country is on you, it's probably because you're the best anyway. When Katie Ledecky or Michael Phelps were swimming, they were the best swimmer standing on that platform to jump in the water. Daniel Suarez is not the best race car driver in this field, or does he have the best race car in this field? So unlike an Olympian, he's going in with somewhat of a handicap, if you will. I don't want to call it a handicap, but
you're right.
Again, that's what we're doing. We're handicapping. He's not the favorite. So I think that's a really tall order to feel like the entire country thinks you should win. and you want to win for them, but at the same time, you're not quite sure you've got, the horses to pull it off. So I hope he does. I would love nothing more to see Daniel win that race.
Can you imagine the it'll be a riot if Daniel Suarez wins this race. It'll be awesome.
Which I've now conveniently danced around this group because it's the one I'm throwing up the X. I don't really know where to go in this group. All right, let's take a look at Group D, where Ty Gibbs is the favorite at plus 210. Michael McDowell is plus 250. Chase Briscoe is plus 295. And Austin Cindric is plus 340.
Dang it. You had to put Gibbs, McDowell, and Cindric in the same group. Really? Well, I was really excited to see what group these guys were going to be in because I was like, this could be a pretty good deal here. And you give me this. I'm like, gosh darn it.
But what you did get, Brendan, is three guys that you were almost lumping together. One of them's getting a plus 340.
Yeah, but the problem is he's getting the 340 against Michael McDowell, who has also raced at this course and also is a very accomplished wet weather racer, and who also has a win in the last 10 races of NASCAR road courses at Indy GP. Darn it.
Well, I will just tell you from my standpoint, I really, really like Cindric because of the number on that. I love that plus 340 because I don't separate I think even Chase Briscoe. I mean, we saw him a couple years ago at Indianapolis on the road course. I mean, Briscoe's, and he's in a car that we know how good Martin Truex Jr. used to be in this car on the road course too. So I think Cindric at plus 340, given the fact that these four are very similar, why not? It's worth the value.
I'm just so bummed that they put, I really wanted Michael McDowell and Cindric in two different groups. Duh.
This is really, really troubling to you. I can see that.
That bums me. That bums me out. It bums me out. I wanted to pick both of them.
Okay, back to the drawing board for you. Okay, we've been back on Gone Racing. We got two more groups to go. We'll tell you how we did last week. Welcome back to our final segment of Gone Racing this week. Jeff Motley here in the studio at the South Point, the Dude Wipes studio here at the South Point. Brendan Gaughan is joining us remotely from Walt Disney World, taking his kid on.
I got my Dude Wipes here with me. I got my Dude Wipes with me. We're good.
Good. That makes me feel better. I will sleep much better tonight now that I know that. Well, Brendan, we were in the middle of our group matchups when we went to our last break. Our Group E, Ryan Blaney.
Hey, usual suspects in Group E, right, Jeff? Normal names.
Yeah. Definitely not what you'd expect, right? Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano all at plus 260, and Carson Hocevar at plus 290.
Here's the funny thing. You and I said off air, hey, I got Denny Hamlin in Group E. That's a lie. Well, wait a second. He's with Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. Hamlin's
road course has not been as good lately. He used to be better than he's been lately, too.
Let's just say one top 5 in 10 races, one top 10, average finish of 22. So there's a reason why these guys are actually in Group E for a change. But if you look at the numbers, Joey Logano has the best average finish by 3-4 spots over Blaney. Hocevar in a road course to really say what it is, but the way that Hocevar's been running everywhere, Hocevar, just kind of pick him. He's hot. But I'm putting the X on Group E. I don't know. I got nothing there.
Yeah,
I don't want it.
I'm totally with you. I'm not going to go near Group E either. So we don't even have to spend a lot of time on it because I don't think either one of us likes it. All right, let's move along to Group F, where Noah Gragson is our favorite at plus 260, and then throw a blanket over him. Bubba Wallace, Brad Keselowski, and Ryan Preece all at plus 270.
For me, I look at this and I just go, who's the oldest, most experienced, the guy that used to win on road races? Remember the famous Marcus Ambrose and Brad Keselowski, Watkins Glen in the oil, such an amazing, stellar finish. And you're giving me 270 of Brad K in Group F against Bubba. Gotten better. Not notorious, great road racer, but gotten better. Preece, great in modifieds, great in those things. Not notorious in the road courses. Noah, young, aggressive, and that young aggressiveness normally hurts him on the road races. So I like the Brad K right here. I like 270 on Brad.
I like Brad Keselowski a lot right here. I'm really actually high this week on Brad Keselowski in terms of what his matchups are. The numbers that we're getting and where we're seeing Brad Keselowski. I like Brad Keselowski a lot, so I'm in total agreement with you at plus 270. All right, let's take a look at our manufacturer numbers. And, well, if you're going to bet Chevy, then knock yourself out, but you're not going to win much money. Chevy is a heavy favorite here at minus 230. Toyota comes in at plus 250. And Ford is plus 600. That's a big number, knowing that Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, these are guys that have run road courses very well.
They're minus two. When you talk about most of the names we talked about, minus 230 for Chevrolet, absolutely deserved. Plus 600 for Ford. I don't know if I deserve it. It almost makes you say bet it just because it's a three-man horse race, Jeff, and you get plus 600. I mean, stranger things have happened, but I'm sorry, I'm laughing. My son just tiptoed by me to go by the computer to get out.
Well, it was better than seeing his socks make an
this
appearance
was the other one. This was
year.
Michael this week.
Oh.
This was Michael this week. He was doing this tiptoeing by us.
Walk like an Egyptian. Is that? Remember that? That song?
He was too. Yeah. But plus 600, Jeff. That's a hell of a number for a three-man horse race.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I'm not going to bet it, but I think it's certainly worth taking a shot at. All right, real quick, not much movement in our driver standings other than Denny Hamlin's odds are actually, if you didn't get Denny Hamlin when he was about plus 800, it's not going to go any more than plus 500 before the playoffs start. So not much change there in those. And so that brings us to how we did last week, Brendan.
I like how we did last week.
Well,
I really like it because I closed our gap. Close the gap, baby.
You did. You had a very, very strong week. I'm waiting for us to put up the numbers. I don't know if we have them in front of us. Here we go. Oh, here we go. And we got them. So you had a big win with Zane Smith at a plus 370, and then you had Reddick over Bell. I think you had. We have the Nashville picks up there. We don't have the Michigan picks.
No, last week I had Boucher. Boucher, Gibbs, and Suarez. Chris in Group C. I had Gibbs in Group E, and Suarez in F, and ended up with 8.6 points. Had a good week there. You still got a win, Jeff. You had Chastain in Group B.
And that was a big number on Ross Chastain.
It was plus 315.
Definitely.
Yeah,
big
that was
win.
a big one.
Kept me in the positive.
And the pit crew minimized their damage. Got Denny Hamlin in Group A at plus 3.5. So they're plus 250. So they minimized the damage. They look great. I mean, they had Hocevar. Look, if you had Hocevar, you had good stuff happening. You know what I mean? So it was coming, but it just didn't quite work out the way they wanted.
No, and the standings, you have gained on me just a little bit here. I don't know that we have those for the screen, but
more than a little bit, Mr. Motley.
I know. I want everybody to know that Brendan couldn't wait until the race almost was barely over before texting me to see if I hear footsteps. And I'm like,
and you told me I only won 2, and I said, whoa, coach.
Well, and I will say this, I had not, I kind of just from watching the race had pretty much a feel for it. I hadn't looked it up. And Suarez spinning out earlier in the race, and I'm there, I was like, well, Brendan just lost that one. And then Suarez fought his way back and won that group. And I was shocked that Suarez had won his group. So
all three of us are positive, though, still, Jeff. The pit crew is still in the positive with 3.4. I got 24.3, and you got 30.25. So we're all still positive, but I'm catching you.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Okay, let's get to this week's picks here in Mexico City, and the pit crew is still in last. So we are going to read off the pit crew picks first. They love that 40-1 top 3 on Brad Keselowski. Can't say that I disagree with them there. They are going SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen in Group A at plus 180.
Listen, they get it. They catch us. They're right back in the game, baby.
They do. Chris Buescher in Group B plus 315. They do not believe the pressure will be too much for Daniel Suarez. So they are going Daniel Suarez plus 250 in Group C. And then they are staying on the Brad Keselowski bandwagon in Group F at plus 270. What say you, Mr. Gaughan?
They like to go in on a driver, so they definitely do that. Here's my gig. I feel like I should have an SVG bet just because it's SVG, but I don't. I'm kind of bummed about that. I really thought about the Group A, but here's what I got. I got a top 3. I'm going Chris Buescher top 3 plus 450. It's a big number for a top 3. He's his stats show that he is worthy of that pick. I do like him. Then I'm going to go C-Bell over SVG in the head-to-head still. It's even though I'm high on SVG, I got a shot for a decent return on a 50-50 horse race. Give me plus 135. I got it. Then I got 3 groups. I told you my lock. AJ in Group B, lock it in, plus 315. I got McDowell in Group D. I'm bummed that I had to go against Austin Cindric, but I do like him with the rain coming. And then Brad Keselowski in Group F at plus 240. Just experience is going to lead the way there in that group, especially 90% chance of rain.
All righty. Well, the one thing I can give you is a little precursor here is I have 3 of the same picks as the pit crew, and we may have issued our kiss of death. Because we do have
no,
one.
come on. We're not the SI Jinx.
Well,
it's the Gone Racin.
The last couple times it has worked the wrong way.
We're still above.
Okay.
We're still above. We still are more good than bad. So we're still above.
All right. Well, I am going to agree with the pit crew right off the bat. 40-1, Brad Keselowski for top 3. I'm not. I feel like if I get that right, you're going to be looking up at me for the rest of the season. I mean, I feel like I could put you away. I could go after your mark from last year if I could get this one. So,
my personal Mendoza line.
Correct. And I'm going to go with a head-to-head. Not a huge one, but I'm taking Tyler Reddick at plus 105 over William Byron in the head-to-heads. And then my other 3 picks are in the groups. I like the pit crew here, plus 180 on Shane Van Gisbergen. I just think that's a good number.
It's a good pick.
Against 3 guys.
It's a good pick.
I really
good pick.
You and I are going to go head-to-head, mano-a-mano in Group D, because I'm going Austin Cindric in Group D. Well, you got Michael McDowell, which means congratulations, Chase Briscoe and Ty Gibbs, because that means one of them will probably win the group. And then my last pick, again, with the pit crew and with you, the Brad Keselowski in Group F at plus 270. So,
well, I hope all 3 of us win our Group F pick, and I hope he finishes 4th, just so that I don't have to play catch up all season.
Well, it's amazing that I've jumped in so much on Brad Keselowski all of a sudden here in this particular week. So, because he's certainly had his struggles, but he did have a top 10 last week, which got to give that team a little bit of a boost. And the fact that RFK had all 3 of their cars in the top 10 last week at Michigan has got to have them feeling good.
It's happened a couple times this year. It's happened a couple times this year. RFK is coming. And being a little bit out of the norm right now, that's kind of Brad's thing. Brad has always been if you take Brad's career, Jeff, very compartmentalized. He knows how, when things get weird, Brad Keselowski steps up. So I think this is a great race for Brad to have that, a solid run. I'd like the 40-1 top 3. I hope you guys don't win it, but I would not root against Brad because he's my boy, and I love rooting for him. So if he does, great. But I'm just excited, Jeff. For Mexico City, I hope everybody goes and gets a couple tacos.
Did you race
a great time down there.
Did you race in any of those Xfinity Series races there?
Nope. That was a little before I was doing Xfinity Series, so that was when I was still doing trucks and had a couple offers to go down and do it, but it wasn't with teams at the time that I was ready to go pull a trigger with. So do love it down there. Do love the people, love the culture, love the whole thing. So rooting for them down in Mexico City, and I hope everybody has a phenomenal time down there. I hope the race is fantastic. And Daniel Suarez, my muchachito, I hope he has an amazing time. And God, I would love Daniel to come out of a win there. I really would. I think that'd be the coolest story ever.
We would all love that. And I think this is a really good opportunity too, because we got a little under a minute left in the show here. But to remind people that you and I record this show on Thursdays, and you may be listening to it on Sirius XM on Friday or on Sunday morning. Wait until you see these guys practice, and wait until you qualify. We're giving you guidance on what we know, but we're going to find out a lot, I think, on this track with practice and qualifying. And so that's important that people realize that, we're recording this early.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said that's part of the things we do. We put our money where our mouth is early. Would we make a couple different bets if it was 1 or 2 days later? Probably. But you know what? We do pretty darn good betting this early. But with the 90% rain, SVG, look at those regular names. If the rain stays there, that's what you're looking for.
Well, I know it's going to be an exciting weekend. The NASCAR Series, the Cup Series and Xfinity Series down to Mexico City. That'll do it for us this week. We'll be back next week. We'll wrap up Mexico City and start talking about the Tricky Triangle at Pocono.